What do you think actually happened to the Boeing whistleblower? Window seat. Let's ask Karen Silkwood. One of the alphabet agencies connected to Boeing took him out before he revealed more cutting of corners and penny-pinching tactics that will lead to more deaths via Boeing. Unless he was about to reveal something that was company-ending or at least putting several top people in prison, I doubt Boeing would take the risk of outright having him killed. However, that doesn't mean they didn't make sure to ruin his life to the point where he couldn't have any job, anywhere. Maybe they threatened to ruin the lives of those he cares about too, but that is fairly risky too. But like I wrote, unless there was some truly damning things he was going to say, like he could prove Boeing was selling the Russians and or Chinese full details of the planes Boeing makes for the US or something comparable, having someone killed is a really high risk if caught. Everyone would suspect Boeing killed him if he wound up dead, but Boeing would think that everyone else would think that they would think it's obvious Boeing killed him, which is why Boeing wouldn't kill him, and that's what they want you to think. We did it. Reddit S. Death. Suicide, as people close to him mentioned he was mentally distraught. Suicide seems more likely here. Yeah, I know a family friend said otherwise. As someone with chronic depression, I lie about it all the fucking time. Or she lied. People do that, I know, shocking. Consider how badly the world treats you if you're a whistleblower. I recall a whistleblower in Australia semi-recently going after casino money laundering, getting harassed, bankrupted by frivolous lawsuits, lost his home, his wife left him, he developed terminal cancer, and the casinos were still starting new lawsuits with him while bedridden in hospital. What doesn't make sense is he testified several times already. So why'd they kill him? They forced him to fly on a 737 MAX. Assassinated, obviously. Suicide due to the stress getting too much. What was there for Boeing to cover up, 7 years after he started whistleblowing? At a stretch, I'd say maybe someone personally affected by his whistleblowing out for revenge, but it's definitely not a corporate cover-up. Suicide, I think the amount of risk in Boeing doing this would be crazy. Just through him dying, it's raised more red flags about Boeing than what he was actually saying. If he knew something that was actually material, there would be so many ex-Boeing employees who would also know these things. There would be a lot more grounded Boeing planes. Commercial aviation is very risk-averse. He was killed by Kate Middleton. All whistleblowers need protection. This is heinous. The guy had a history of mental health issues. He took his own life. I'd say 30 chance somebody from or hired by Boeing actually pulled the trigger, 70 chance they didn't but directly and deliberately contributed to the mental health crisis that caused him to kill himself. But that's a wild-ass guess. Does it really matter? Either he killed himself or he was murdered. Either way, there is no real consequence for anyone except him and his loved ones. Corporations get richer and he remains another small tragedy for humanity. It's fucked up no matter which way you slice it. He got the Russian treatment. Do I think major corporations might have upper-level managers who would kill some or drive them to kill themselves? Yay, probably. But what I actually think happened is this guy was let go and ostracized from the industry. The stress and probably legal threats made him mentally unhealthy. I think he might have felt helpless and depressed and might have figured that the only way the world would listen to him, and he would be vindicated, is if he took his life and made them. Bonus points, as he might have seen it, for making it seem like an assassination by telling friends and family, if I die it's not suicide, even while he was having suicidal ideations. He wanted the public to think Boeing is more evil than it is, so he said what he said about not killing himself, and then he killed himself. Why? To cement himself and his legacy to be talked about forever. If he was just a whistleblower, he would be forgotten next month, but a possibly assassinated whistleblower by a huge corporation. Cemented in history forever. He committed suicide on his own, but possibly agitated by stress guilt. I have heard zero friends and family call foul play. It's the end of Boeing and their unsafe planes. Time to build a train passenger system. Time to use the trains we have more. Another Boeing airplane had a large panel piece fall off the plane mid-flight yesterday. Poor guy was killed by them, disappointed face, sad. Murdered. He was murdered. Bruh. His own family, who you would think of being the most skeptical, aren't. They say that he had PTSD. He hadn't been employed by Boeing since 2017. Unstable and suicidal. No idea. Didn't know him, don't know the detailed circumstances around the incident or the crime death scene. I will say that if I was going to off myself, I might well leave cryptic messages behind hinting that my demise definitely wouldn't be by my own to mess with people and leave the world a slightly more confusing place. He saved a lot of lives. Weren't they in a whistleblower against Boeing since something like 2019? Seems weird they'd just be killed now. I feel like something else is going on here. Something. I think of all those contractors Boeing has been using as of lately on top of the other speculations. Whatever happened? RIP and thanks for making us all aware of something that we shouldn't have the need to be. Gang stalking. I mean, yeah, without evidence we're talking conspiracy grade theorizing here. My personal take is that some of the shareholders of Boeing will be so invested into the share price that a significant crisis dropping their value will equate to many millions, if not billions of dollars. At this point the less principled will compare that potential financial loss with the option of bumping off the cause in advance. The cost of doing business. As always, people are guilty until proven innocent. This should not apply to corporations, however, especially those intrinsically linked with public safety. They need to maintain the standard, not have it apply by default. Very likely, Boeing is not directly linked to the death of this whistleblower, however I am more than certain that Boeing's investors have a vested interest in maintaining the well-being of their investment. That's a nice whistle. It'd be a shame if someone to it. As a precedent, this also sends a powerful message to anybody else who might want to wrap their lips around the end of a double-barreled whistle. My dad was a serious whistleblower. The psychological load was practically unbearable for him, and I can see how someone could take it one last step further. He killed himself, knowing it would be a way more dramatic story, especially since he seeded it up front by telling his friend, if I die, it won't be suicide. He's been whistleblowing on them since 2017. He was hardly a keeper of super secret info that he hasn't already blabbed everywhere.